Have you ever been woken up in the middle of the night by a sudden dizzy spell, a sharp pain in your chest, and for just a split second, you thought to yourself, "Is this it?" That cold flash of fear is something many of us, unfortunately, know all too well. But what if I told you the real danger in that moment isn't the fall, or the pain itself? A startling report I read recently showed that in over 60% of emergency admissions for seniors, critical time is lost. And why? Because doctors are scrambling for information, and our families, with all the love in the world, are forced to make life or death decisions, completely in the dark. As a geriatric doctor who has spent over 30 years by the bedsides of my patients, I can tell you a hard truth. The most devastating family crises I have ever witnessed didn't start with a medical event. No, they started with a simple lack of preparation. I'll never forget my patient, John, a vibrant, 72-year-old man who played golf 3 times a week. Then one afternoon, a severe stroke hit, out of the blue. In the hospital, as he lay there, unable to speak, I had to watch his 2 children argue. Right there in the hallway, under those cold fluorescent lights. One wanted everything done, while the other insisted, Dad would never want to live like this. Their love for their father was tearing them apart, right when he needed them to be a team. John's story doesn't have to be your family's story. It truly doesn't. And that is exactly why I made this video for you. Think of this as your peace of mind plan. We're going to walk through 3 simple, practical, and mostly free things you must have in place. These aren't complicated medical procedures. They are simple actions that put you back in control. And I urge you to stay with me until the very end, because the third thing we'll discuss is, by far, the most important of all. It costs nothing. It takes less than an hour. And it's the one thing that can truly save your family from the heartache John's family went through. It could be the greatest gift you ever give them. My name is Dr. Evans, and for decades, my mission has been to help folks navigate their golden years with dignity and confidence. Please know, everything we talk about today comes from real-world experience, from seeing what works, and what, sadly, leads to heartbreak. Before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of you have faced this. If what I've just shared feels at all familiar, please just take a moment and comment a simple yes below. It shows me you understand, and more importantly, it shows others they are not alone in this. Okay, let's get started. Alright, now that we understand what's at stake, let's walk through the very first thing you need to have in place. Think of this as the foundation of your entire peace of mind plan. Thing number 1, the "Who speaks for me?" paperwork. The first and perhaps most common mistake I see people make is thinking that having a will is enough. I hear it all the time in my office. "Oh, don't worry, Doc, I have a will. Everything is taken care of." And I have to gently explain to them that while a will is incredibly important, it has one critical limitation. A will only works after you're gone. It directs where your treasured possessions go, who gets the house, and who looks after the dog. But it has absolutely no power in a situation where you are still here, but can't speak for yourself. And that is a scenario far more common, and frankly, far more terrifying than most people realize. Now, why is this so critical? Let me explain the simple, hard logic of it. Legally, if you are in a hospital and deemed incapacitated, meaning you can't understand or communicate your own decisions, doctors cannot simply take your spouse's or your child's word for it on every single decision. They may listen, of course, but when it comes to major choices, like agreeing to a complex surgery or, on the other end of the spectrum, deciding to withdraw life support, their hands are tied without a legal designation. Think about it from the hospital's perspective. Without that official piece of paper, they have no legal proof of who you would want making those calls. This is when the hospital's legal team, or sometimes even the courts, have to get involved. The result is always the same: agonizing delays, confusion, and a level of stress placed upon your family that is almost unbearable. It's like being the captain of a ship, suddenly unable to command, and your frantic crew has no idea who you appointed as the first mate. Chaos is the only possible outcome. So, the next logical question is, why do so many of us put this off? I've thought about this a lot over the years, listening to my patients. It's because it feels morbid, doesn't it? It's talking about a what-if scenario that we'd much rather push to the back of our minds. It feels complicated, like you need to spend thousands of dollars on a fancy lawyer. But the deepest reason, I believe, is a quiet, unspoken assumption we make. We think, my family loves me. They know me. They'll know what to do. We believe that the love we share with our children or our spouse automatically translates into a perfect understanding of our deepest wishes. But love and legal authority are two very, very different things. The symptom of not having this paperwork in place is pure chaos in the emergency room. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's your daughter, the one who has been by your side for every doctor's appointment, who knows you'd never want to be kept on a machine. Having her wishes completely overruled by a distant relative who flies in with different ideas, simply because there's no official document naming her as the decision-maker. It's watching doctors and nurses waste precious time that should be spent on your care, trying to figure out who is legally in charge. This is a manufactured crisis, a nightmare born from a lack of preparation. Let me tell you about my patient, Eleanor. Eleanor was a wonderful woman, sharp as a tack at 82. Her daughter, Sarah, was her primary caregiver, her best friend, her whole world. They had talked about everything. Sarah knew her mother's wishes inside and out. But one icy morning, Eleanor had a bad fall and suffered a serious head injury. She was rushed to the hospital, unconscious. Sarah was there, ready to speak for her mom. But then, Eleanor's estranged son, who hadn't visited in over 5 years, flew in from across the country. Fueled by old family dynamics and perhaps a bit of guilt, he began to demand that the doctors do every procedure imaginable, no matter how invasive or futile. He insisted his mother was a fighter and would want everything done. Sarah was in tears, pleading, "That's not what she would want. I know my mom." The conflict was agonizing for everyone. The medical team was frozen, caught between two warring siblings. The stress was immense. Thankfully, after hours of frantic searching, Sarah was able to locate her mother's paperwork at home. In it, Eleanor had clearly named Sarah as her healthcare proxy. The moment that document was faxed to the hospital, the chaos stopped. The arguments ended. Sarah was finally able to carry out her mother's true wishes with peace and dignity. Eleanor had given her daughter the ultimate gift, the gift of clarity. The solution to prevent this exact scenario is not complicated or expensive. It's two simple pieces of paper. First, there is a healthcare proxy, which is sometimes called a medical power of attorney. This is the document that names the one person you trust to make medical decisions for you if you cannot. The second is a durable power of attorney for finances. This is just as important. It names someone to pay your bills, manage your bank accounts, and handle your affairs if you are laid up in a hospital or a rehab facility for a long time. You don't necessarily need a lawyer. You can often get standard, state-approved forms for free online from trusted organizations like the AARP or from your own state's Department of Aging website. The crucial steps are to fill them out completely, sign them in front of a notary, which you can usually find at your local bank or a UPS store, and most importantly, give a copy to the person you've chosen and to your doctor. By doing this, you've just prevented a potential family war. You've replaced confusion with a clear chain of command. If you believe that being prepared is truly a form of love for your family, a way to protect them from that future pain, please take a moment and comment the word plan below. It shows me you understand, and it shows our community that we are all in this together. Alright, now let's move on to the second essential thing you must have in place. This one is less about legal authority and more about practical, life-saving information in a moment of sheer panic. Thing number 2. The in case of emergency, grab-and-go file. I want you to imagine this scene for a moment. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Paramedics are in your home. The lights are flashing, there's a sense of extreme urgency, and everything feels chaotic. They are working on your loved one, and one of them turns to you, the spouse of 50 years, and asks a simple question: what medications is he on? What are the dosages? And in that moment of pure panic, your mind goes completely, utterly blank. You can't remember if it's 1 pill or 2. You can't recall the name of that heart medication. You know the bottles are in the bathroom cabinet, but you can't leave your loved one's side. This happens so much more often than you think. Under immense stress, our brains simply do not work the way they do when we are calm. In medicine, we have a grim but accurate saying, time is tissue. In the case of a heart attack, every minute of delay can mean more permanent damage to the heart muscle. In the case of a stroke, every second that a clot blocks blood flow can mean more permanent damage to the brain. And one of the single biggest causes of treatment delays in the ER is an incomplete medical history. Giving a patient a medication that interacts poorly with something they already take can be catastrophic. The ER doctor is forced to play detective, trying to piece together your medical puzzle, when they should be focused on immediate treatment. That detective work costs time, and time costs tissue. So why are we often so unprepared for this moment? It's because we live with our own health every single day. We think we'll remember. We have the pill bottles lined up in the medicine cabinet. We might have a list scribbled down somewhere in a drawer, or a note on our phone. Our vital information is scattered. A little here, a little there. We completely overestimate our ability to recall details accurately under the enormous pressure of a life-or-death situation. We assume that in the moment of crisis, we will rise to the occasion with a clear head. The reality is, the emotional shock can make it nearly impossible to think straight. The symptom of this disorganization is preventable danger. It's watching the ER doctor hold off on administering a critical clot-busting drug because they're not sure if you're on a blood thinner. It's your panicked loved one trying to call your cardiologist's office at 2 in the morning, only to get an answering service. It is a dangerous information gap that can have devastating consequences, and it's a gap that you have the power to close right now. Let me contrast that chaotic scene with the story of another one of my patients, Frank. Frank was a retired firefighter, a man who believed in drills and preparation. One evening, he had a massive heart attack while watching television. His wife, Brenda, called 911 immediately. When the paramedics arrived, amidst the urgency of the moment, Brenda didn't panic. She simply walked to the refrigerator, took down a bright red folder that was held on by a magnet, and handed it to the lead paramedic. He opened it, and in less than 30 seconds, the entire ER team knew everything they needed to know. They knew Frank's complete list of medications and their exact dosages. They knew he was allergic to penicillin. They knew the name and phone number of his cardiologist. And crucially, they knew he had a stent placed in one of his arteries 2 years prior. The ER doctor who treated him later called me and said, "That red folder Brenda gave us bought us at least 15 critical minutes. We knew exactly what we were dealing with. It made all the difference in the world." Frank made a full recovery, and I have no doubt that Brenda's simple act of preparation played a huge role in that positive outcome. She wasn't just his wife in that moment. She was his most effective advocate. The solution is something I now recommend to all my patients, and it's what I call the grab-and-go file. It is so simple, yet so powerful. It's a single folder. Make it a bright, noticeable color like red or yellow that contains a one-page cheat sheet with all of your vital information. It must contain these 6 things. First, a complete list of all your medications, including the dosages and how often you take them. Don't forget over-the-counter pills and vitamins. Second, a list of any known allergies. Third, the names and phone numbers for all of your primary doctors and specialists. Fourth, a short, simple summary of your major health conditions, like atrial fibrillation or type 2 diabetes. Fifth, clear copies of the front and back of your insurance card and your photo ID. And sixth, a copy of that all-important healthcare proxy we just talked about. You then take this folder and you put it right on your refrigerator door. Why the fridge? Because every single first responder, every paramedic, every firefighter, is trained to look there for medical information in an emergency. It's a universal spot. This simple folder becomes your voice when you don't have one. It speaks for you with perfect clarity when your loved ones might be too distraught to do so. It is, quite possibly, one of the most impactful things you can do for your own safety. If you think this simple folder idea is a game changer, if it just made you think, "Wow, I need to do that," please just type the word "wow" in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to see how many of you find this simple tip helpful. And now, we've arrived at the third and final thing. I've saved this for last because, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is without a doubt the most important of all. It's not a document you can notarize. It's not a list you can type up. It's a conversation. It is the one conversation that most families will do almost anything to avoid, because it feels heavy. It feels final. Thing number 3. The kitchen table conversation. This is the human element that ties everything else together. You can have all the right paperwork and the most organized folder in the world, but if you haven't had this one conversation, you've left the most important part of the plan undone. Psychologically, we human beings are wired to avoid conversations about our own mortality. It's a defense mechanism. We do it to protect ourselves from confronting our own fears, and we often do it under the mistaken belief that we are protecting our children from feeling sad. We think, I don't want to upset them. I don't want to be a burden. But I am telling you, after 3 decades of witnessing the aftermath of this silence is not a protection. It is the heaviest burden you can possibly place on the people you love most. The core reason this conversation is skipped is because of that same dangerous assumption we talked about earlier. My kids know me. They'll know what to do. We assume that because they are our flesh and blood, they have a magical insight into our souls. We believe that their love will be a perfect compass, guiding them to make the exact choices we would have made. This is the single most dangerous assumption a parent can make. Love does not automatically grant your children the ability to read your mind, especially when they are terrified, grieving, and under unimaginable pressure. The symptom of this silence is a deep, corrosive guilt. It's the face of the son or daughter who has to make the impossible call to withdraw care, and then spends the rest of their life haunted by a single, agonizing question. Did I do the right thing? Would mom have wanted one more day? It's the quiet resentment that can fester between siblings for years, even decades, to come. One sibling believes they honored their parents' fighting spirit. The other believes they prolonged their suffering. This division, born from guesswork, can fracture a family forever. They are not fighting because they don't love you. They are fighting because they love you so much, and you never gave them the clarity they desperately needed. This brings us right back to John, the vibrant golfer from the beginning of our talk. The reason his 2 children were arguing so bitterly in that hospital hallway was because of the silence that came before the stroke. He had never had the conversation. Each of them thought they knew what Dad would have wanted, and their interpretations were polar opposites. They were each trying to honor him in their own way, but they were working from a blank page. The conflict wasn't their fault. It was John's. He admitted this to me himself later. He had left his children with an impossible burden. The burden of guessing. The solution is not a dramatic, tear-filled, 3-hour saga. It's a simple, calm, kitchen table conversation. You can do it over a cup of coffee. You don't need a grand speech. You just need to be clear and loving. You can start by simply saying, "Hey, I want to sit down for a few minutes. This is really important to me. I need you to know my wishes, just in case something ever happens." In this talk, you need to tell them 3 clear things. Number 1, where the documents are. Let them know about the grab-and-go file on the fridge and where the original copies of your power of attorney documents are kept. Number 2, who you have officially designated to speak for you, so there is no confusion or debate among siblings. And number 3, and this is the heart of it all, your feelings about end-of-life care. Be honest. Do you fear being in pain more than anything else? Is your biggest priority to be at home? Do you want doctors to try every possible treatment, or would you prefer a focus on comfort and peace? Most importantly, frame this conversation as the gift that it is. You can say to them, "I am telling you all of this now so that you never, ever have to guess. I want to take that burden completely off your shoulders." When you put it that way, it's not about death. It's about love. It's about protecting your family from conflict and guilt. This conversation, this simple, honest talk, is the ultimate act of love. It's the final piece that makes your entire plan complete. So, as we bring our time together to a close, I want to circle back one last time to my patient, John. The man who loved his golf game and loved his family even more. After he recovered from that frightening stroke, after the chaos had subsided, the very first thing he did was get his paperwork in order. And then, he sat his children down for that kitchen table talk. He told me later, with a little catch in his voice, that it was the hardest and the very best conversation he's ever had. He finally gave them the gift of clarity. Today, John is back on the golf course, and his family is closer than they have been in years. The crisis, a thing that could have torn them apart with guilt and guesswork, actually brought them together. All because the air was finally cleared. Preparation paved the way for healing. And that brings us to the simple truth at the heart of everything we've talked about today. Having a plan in place. It's not about preparing for the end. It's about giving yourself and your family the profound gift of peace of mind, right now. It's about knowing that you've taken the time to replace potential chaos with clarity, and to replace fear with love. As we wrap up, we've explored 3 critical steps that can truly protect our families and our own dignity. But as we all know, knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important, final question for you. What is the one small commitment you are making to yourself this week after watching this video? It could be as simple as, I will download that healthcare proxy form. Maybe it's, I will start making the list for my grab-and-go file. Or perhaps it's the biggest step of all. I will call my daughter and schedule that kitchen table talk. Please, share your personal commitment in the comments below. Let's inspire each other to take that first, crucial step. Your one small promise to yourself matters more than you know. And if you found real value and inspiration in our time together today, show your support by giving this video a simple like. It truly helps me know that this message has resonated with you. To ensure you continue on this journey with us and never miss another conversation full of practical wisdom, hit that subscribe button. It's more than just subscribing. It's joining a community of friends, all of us dedicated to navigating these golden years with strength and grace together. Finally, think of one person. Just one person who needs to hear this message today, and please, share it with them. It might be the most important, most loving gift you give them all year. Thank you for your time and your trust. Stay healthy, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video.